What's up, everybody? Tim Sykes here. It is actually the morning for me as I'm filming this. I'm in Asia for the next few days working on my charity. We're building new schools and we're actually building a hospital. I'll talk about that more in a bit. But first, I got to talk about the stocks that are in play and what's really working. PIP is the best play right now. And you can see this huge spike. There's a lot of bad data out there. Really, please use stocks to trade, okay? Because a lot of people think that PIP is like, a bad sushi example for my trader checklist guy. They think that it's down a lot. And that's just not true. They paid out a special dividend. They did not drop 60 or 70% due to bad news. My bad sushi examples are all about staying away from companies that drop due to bad news because now they're a fundamentally different company. This is still the same company, but they did pay out a special dividend. And that was actually good news. And it keeps spiking because people see, wow, there's actually some value here. And this isn't the first time. Before I get into this more, I got to give props to some students. I'm sorry I've been so out of it. Like a 13 or 14 hour time difference that I'm working with. It's kind of crazy. Here's Sartor, and he said, after 3 months of watching your DVDs several times, I started trading last week. So far, $3,000 profit in 7 days. Thanks, God bless you, Timothy Sykes. And he posted his screenshot. He made 1,500 roughly yesterday. And I'm so proud of Sartor and people like him. And it's not God bless me. Like, I'm honored to be your teacher. God bless you guys if you actually study so hard and then you utilize those lessons and you put them into practice. I need more dedicated students. And also, Sartor, don't get too cocky because we've had a ton of, awesome plays in the past few days and weeks and months, really. Take it one trade at a time. Just go slow. Wait for the right setups. But this is a freaking awesome start. Brooks, who actually has done fantastic the past few weeks. He was making, what did he do? I think he was like the 5,000 and the 25,000 in one trade on IDXG. But now he's trading, with a small account, even when he's on mobile, and he's looking at houses. And he's still making some decent money on PIP. Also, Iskander, MYOS. This was a hot play. I'll talk about that in a second. He made 1,600. In E-Trade, and then he was out for another 500, so $2,100 profit. And he's so excited. Look at all those little exclamation points. I love this, okay? This is what you can do. You aim to make a few $100s, a few $1,000s in a day. Doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter if you have IB or Interactive Brokers. I have accounts with both of them. But that should be like your kind of goal. And you're trading these volatile penny stocks, whether it's PIP or MYOS, and I'll go over all of them in a second, but I got to give props to students who really get it. Thomas, his accounts have grown 20%, and he did have some losses, but at least he's on the right track. We all have losses, okay? And I'm going to do better about highlighting students who talk about their losses and showcase their losses because you can learn from them. You don't have to be ashamed of them. I know that very few traders in the grand scheme of the trading industry believe in full transparency. This is why Profitly is not more popular. But if you show all of your trades, all of your mistakes, you get so much better. I've become an infinitely better trader and teacher because of my business model where I have to, show every trade, whether it's a live video lesson or an alert, and the pressure is always on me, and that's cool. You should have pressure, okay? I have a lot of haters who like to bet against me on every single play, so I better be damn sure that I'm getting into a good play. So think of yourself like that. If you can build up your social media following or your following on Profitly, you have pressure. And it's not just, yourself. You actually don't want to look like a dumbass in front of other people. And I think that's good. That makes you take better trades. And if you do a dumb trade, guess what? Your social media following and everyone in the community is going to come down hard on you. Hopefully, with constructive criticism, right? But it's about taking responsibility. And if you have losses, you learn from them, you move on, you get better. Here was Iskander. Oh, this was another one, and he was like 3,100 on the day. This was later in the day. Awesome job, Tanner. And you don't have to stop. Like some of you guys say, oh, I made 500 on the day. My goal is done. I'm not going to trade again. If there are good plays, feel free to trade again. If there are no good plays, then that's when you can say, okay, I'm done. But I don't like it when some of you guys cut off your trading just because you hit your own personal goal. Sometimes, there's 3 or 4 good plays in a day. Sometimes there's multiple plays. And especially if you're over the pattern day trader rule, or if you just want to learn, use stocks to trade the paper trading and you can practice. The hardest thing about becoming a millionaire is how much time and effort and work it takes. because you really need to learn the strategies, learn from history, then witness these patterns, then learn to profit from these patterns. So it's a multi-step process. And a lot of you guys, you take one trade and you're like, okay, I get it. And then another trade and another trade, like maybe 3 or 4 trades per week. And you're like, okay, I get it. And then one trade doesn't go your way and it changes your whole philosophy. Imagine if you're practicing, using 80 trades a week or 100 trades a week. And I'm not saying trade random stuff, but practice. You can write down on a note card and do like a fantasy stock trade, or you can use Stocks to Trade new software and paper trade. It's all about practice makes perfect. And a lot of you guys don't want to practice because it's hard and it's annoying. You're like, yeah, all right, I have enough money. I don't need a paper trade. You should always be working on your game, okay? If you're a professional athlete, you're always like, if you're a baseball player, you take batting practice. I don't know any professional baseball player, and I have a few students who are professional baseball players. It's not like, oh, I've mastered the art of batting, so I never need to do batting practice again. Or if you're a golf pro, and I have a few golf pro students, it's not like, oh, I'm never going to go to the driving range again. I'm never going to work on my shot. It doesn't matter how much or how little money you have. You always have to be practicing. Even after nearly 20 years of trading, I still make mistakes, and I still go back and look at specifically penny stocking part 2, because I think that's my best DVD out of all of them, where I talk about the true key patterns, and I go back and I look. So always think about refining your game. It doesn't mean that you have to refine your game after a big loss. Even if you don't have a big loss, you should still be refining. It's amazing how much you can learn if you have the right mindset. And this is why I highlight these students too, because it's not just about my own trading, it's about my students. Here's Tanner, nailed PIP early, 51 cents out at 96 cents, made nearly 700. And he says, thank you for your honesty and transparency. Well, Tanner, thank you for your hard work and your effort. Again, I love teaching. I'll always teach, but I need you guys to have the right mindset. You need to be practicing. You need to be refining. So leave a comment right now if you've made it through 7 minutes of the video. Just below this video, leave a comment with the word refining, REFINING. And that is the kind of mindset that you need to have. No trade is ever going to be perfect. You think Tanner is, like, oh, I sold it at 96 cents and now it's at $1.31. You think this is like a bad trade? No, he took the meat of the move and he made $700 on a small account. That's awesome. When you can make $696 and you only put in $750, guess what? That's good. And some of you guys are like, oh, I can't trade with just a few $100s. You need $2,000 to begin. You need $2,000 in order to short sell, okay? But you can start with a few $100s. And this trade by Tanner is a good example of what you could do where you can make 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 on like a $500 or $700 account. I believe the minimum at E-Trade is $500. And I'm sorry that E-Trade isn't open to some countries. I don't make the rules. But you can also just start studying. You don't need to trade right away. So many of you are like, oh, I have no money, so I'm just not going to trade. Okay, so how are you ever going to learn? Paper trading on Stocks to Trade. This is why I'm so proud of this feature. A few more students. I think this is probably the best message of the day. Oh no, I don't know. It's up there. Corey says he loves Stocks to Trade Oracle, and we've been releasing some videos. I'll actually post a video just below this video on how to use Oracle and really optimize it. But it picked PIP for him. Oracle is basically like this artificial intelligence that we've been working on. And he made 621 this week on it. But look at this screenshot of his recent months. So in October, he lost $98. November, he made nearly 3,000. December, it was fewer trades, maybe the holidays or whatever. And he made 1,700. But now in 2017, he is on fire. And even though he has a few losses, you can see his losses are very small, 95, 150, 75, little losses. Here he was losing like 1,000, he was losing 1,000, he lost 368. The past 2 months, he's really clamped down on bigger losses, and he still has some $1,000 gains, $700 gains, 225, 484, 343, and you can see his profits are adding up quite nicely. And this is freaking awesome, okay? And this is just, again, a very small account. You can see his total accounts here. I mean, it's just a few $1,000s, but this is how it builds. And this is one from the other day. I didn't even get a chance to congratulate him. This is Millionaire Trader First week finished up 1,200 on a $1,500 account in just 3 days. So use these volatile stocks. And, I miss PIP myself. When I'm traveling, I actually don't trade the most volatile stocks because I am very aware of my mindset and my environment. I'm in a lot of these villages in Southeast Asia. There are no 5-star hotels. And even if they are a 5-star hotel, there's not that good Wi-Fi. So when you're trading with very, constricted circumstances, whether it's bad Wi-Fi or, you have meetings or you're in school, we all have different lives. You have to be aware of that, and you should change your trading to accommodate that. So I wasn't trading PIP. Frankly, I wasn't up when there was the best opportunity, which was the dip buy this morning. Overnight longs were not rewarded. This is what's kind of interesting. It's not a perfect science, and overnight longs actually got destroyed because at the market open, it dropped from like $1.20 down to like 90 cents all in the first 2 minutes. So if you were long at any time overnight and you cut losses quickly, you're losing 20%, and that sucks. But that opened the door to opportunity. Look at this. Where did it bottom? Right around 90 cents, right where there was intraday support from yesterday into the close. So all of this was after hours speculation. It brought it right back down here to 90 cents, and this was a fantastic, fantastic dip buy. And you know that dip buying has been my favorite pattern of 2017 so far. So I admit it, I was not awake here. My sleeping schedule is insane here because in the daytime, I'm visiting these charities. I'm working with a lot of the top government in these villages, and really fantastic. Like, this is my true passion that I found, and I'm very blessed. But at the same time, I think I slept from the stock market opens in the time zone that I'm in right now. The stock market opens at 10:30 at night. And I basically slept yesterday from 6 p.m. till 11 p.m. That was my sleep. I'm getting random hours at random times. But this is where I was sleeping, and I kind of wish I hadn't been, but I'm glad that so many of you guys nailed it on your own. You don't need me. And I still have to go through my entire chat room. I counted at least 85 different students who nailed the dip buy in here and was buying it at support at around 90 cents and selling it at either $1, $1.10, $1.20, $1.30 even. And then, this is best case scenario, okay, when it goes up this much. And it has a lot of resistance here at 140, so I was warning people to lock in profits. You can't get too aggressive. It's good to be aggressive, but at the same time, you have to recognize where the stock has come from. And the stock has nearly tripled now in 2 days. So it could still keep spiking, but at the same time, you need to be a little more conservative because I don't want you guys trying to buy a breakout or, holding this play overnight and then being surprised when it drops 20% in 2 minutes, because that could happen. For me, I stick with slower moving earnings winners. PXLW was the big earnings winner. I actually got hurt. Not hurt. I was break even, but I got hurt that I was wrong. I take this very personally. So even if I don't, lose money, it's still a miss for me because I was wrong. It did not hold its first day spike. It did not go back, into the 370s, 380s like I thought it would. Oh, I think it was actually right here. My bad. This is all after hours. And I had the same kind of PIP type morning panic. And this one kept rising. This one didn't necessarily rise 30%, but I also have a longer term newsletter position in this. I have short term newsletters and long term newsletters, very different strategies, so don't get them confused. But as you can see, this is a nice little uptrending chart. And you can see, even though it had a little morning panic and a little morning panic, gradually throughout the day, it uptrends. And why is that? Because this is still a multi-year breakout. Okay, you have to respect multi-month and multi-year breakouts. And I don't know how far this goes. I'm up 10% on my long-term position. It's nothing huge, but I respect multi-month breakouts. AMD is the strongest earnings winner. It had a little dip, but I think it got a little ahead of itself. This one had a nice multi-month breakout above the 12s, and it went all the way to the 14s. And I'll actually look if it comes back to the mid-12s to dip by it. But this is a fantastic example. When a stock spikes on earnings, especially when it's a clear breakout on the chart, I'm interested. So my play right now is PRCP. Nothing amazing. This is a slow-moving stock. I took a position on the dip, and then, frankly, I had to go to sleep again because again, I'm getting like 3, 4, 5 hours wherever I can, and it doesn't make sense. My body is like, what are you doing? But this is a multi-month breakout above 7. So anytime it gets close to 7, and if it holds 7, that is a fantastic time to buy. This is a fantastic breakout because look at the volume, huge volume on earnings, even though it finished off the day highs. But I think that in the next few days, this can head back to 775. So I'll be a buyer all in here in the low 7s, and maybe even if it comes down to like the 680s or 690s, because I don't know, if this breakout is at 7, if that's the most important, or if this breakout above the 680s is the most important. All I know is that this is a nice breakout, and this should have some legs. How much legs? I don't know. A few years ago, this was a fantastic multi-day, multi-week runner. I don't know if that's going to happen this time. It was right in here. This was amazing when it just kept going from the low single digits all the way up to 17. But you can clearly see, this is the single biggest volume day since back in 2013. And you can clearly see this breakout above 7. So I only have a short-term position in this. I might actually buy a longer-term position in this depending on how it acts on day 2. But this one is a very nice and safe kind of play. I know there's a lot of people trying to play like DRYS and RGSE and these fast-moving choppy stocks, and people are asking me my take. Given where I'm trading from, I'm not going to trade that choppy speculative crap. That's just my own personal situation, and this is why in my trader checklist guide, one of the indicators is you have to analyze your own personal situation because we all have different lives. Some of us aren't necessarily as crazy as me going to Asia and traveling all over the world, but again, you have to do what you love in this life. Or, some of you guys who haven't made enough money, you can't do what you love. You have to do what is required of you, which means going to school, having a job, paying the bills. I get it. But you should try to make the stock market still work for you, no matter what your circumstance is. And some people will say, Tim, you don't have a lot of sleep. You're in these crazy time zones. Why are you trading at all? Because for me, and the beauty of my business is that every single trade, win or lose, is a good education for you. Because I know I have the right mindset. And as you see, some of my students have the right mindset. So any single opportunity that I can share, right or wrong, is a good education. It's a history education for you. It's a history lesson. Every trade that I do becomes instantaneous history. And it doesn't have to be a great trade. PXLW on my short-term trade, I basically broke even. I think I made like $40, but I was wrong that it was going to gap up and spike. But I also took a long-term position, and now I'm up like 1,500 on that. So the lesson there is have multiple time frames, especially with multi-month earnings winners. PIP, the lesson here, holding overnight sometimes is risky. And oftentimes it's better to dip buy at support. What I'm trying to get at with all of these trades, whether it's PIP or PRCP or PXLW, I don't know why there's so many P's, or my students like Millionaire Trader making $1,200 on a $1,500 account, or Corey who's getting better, month in, month out, and you can see here he did really well with PIP yesterday or today. I don't even know what time zone. I guess it's still, when I release this video, it's still today for you, but for me, it's yesterday. Or Tanner making 700, or Iskander making 3,100 on the day, or Thomas, having some losses but growing his stuff, or Brooks, trading while he's looking at houses, or Sardar, making 3,000 in 7 days. These are all examples of what you can do because none of us are that special. Okay, I'm not trying to put my students down or put myself down. I'm just telling you that these opportunities come with all of us. Okay, we all see the same stocks. We all have the same data. Well, ideally, if you use stocks to trade, you have better data than most with these stocks. Some platforms don't have good data with penny stocks. Sorry, that was Triforce Trader sending out something. This is real time. This is real stuff. Okay, so I want you learning. And I want you focused on refining your process. Remember to leave a comment if I'm making that very clear with the word refining, because great trading and great success takes time. Keep a spreadsheet like Corey does, or post your stuff on Profitly, and look at how you do not necessarily on any given day or any given week, but month in, month out, year in, year out. And if you can see this kind of progress, you're on the right track. And also understand that it doesn't matter how long you've been trading. If you get too cocky, if you break the rules, you can still lose. And the market has a really nasty way of humbling you and making you remember that you can't get too cocky. The other day, I tried to give OSTK a little more time. I went to sleep with an unguarded position and I got a little too cocky and I woke up with a $2,000 loss. And that, wiped out all the good work I had done in the morning. So all it takes is one trade, and I still cut losses, but all it takes is one trade to really humble you and make you remember that, we're all just human and we're all trying to get better. We're all kind of scientists working on ourselves and what works best for our own personalities. So if you want to dip buy, which I think is frankly a very good idea, if you dip buy a hot stock near support or an earnings winner near support like PRCP or PXLW, that's fantastic. But I know a lot of you guys think that's boring because, the gains on the bounce. Okay, PIP bounced from 90 cents to $1.30. Okay, I mean that's like nearly a 50% bounce. So PIP is good, but PXLW has bounced like 10%. PRCP, we'll still see if it can even hold $7 a share and if it can bounce. AMD, obviously, it's a nice little 10, 15% winner on the breakout. I know you guys want exciting stocks like RGSE and DRYS, but those are just less predictable. A lot of those stocks are just moving when a chat room, promotes it. We have a lot of chat pumps lately, and that's not necessarily predictable. And whoever does these chat pumps, guess what? They're telling everybody. They're not just telling their chat room. They're telling everybody on social media because they want everybody to follow in so that they can sell into their followers. And don't even get me started on that. I think that's pretty unethical. But that's what a lot of people who have not made millions of dollars personally and who don't have strategies and actually years or decades of experience have to do. They have to pump up low float stocks because they have no skill. They don't really, know what they're doing. So they're just trying to do whatever they can to make money to make it seem like they're an expert. And some people are like, oh, let me just short all of these little chat pumps. And most of the time they're right. But they get so cocky, and guess what? All it takes is one trade for you to miss and you risk blowing up. And we see this time and again. And a lot of these short sellers have gotten too cocky in the past few months. And lately they've become a little less aggressive because some of these chat pumps just keep going. So I don't want you getting the wrong idea of what really works. Chat pumps, oh my God. Triforce is like up in the middle of the night alerting stuff. That's awesome. But I don't want you guys getting the wrong idea where the whole goal is just to buy any low float pump and try to ride it. That's not a sustainable strategy, okay? These chat room pumpers, it's not going to last. I guarantee it. It's not going to last. Something's going to happen and it's not going to be fun. So don't just try to follow chats. Don't just try to follow anybody. You have to learn to be self-sufficient. And if you are going to short some of these pumps and you are going to short some of these supernovas, be very careful because we've seen how far they can go, much further than you think. And a lot of short sellers, maybe they haven't blown up yet, but they've been within 1 or 2 days or 1 or 2 trades of close to being blown up. And their heart rates and their blood pressure are way up, and they're kind of rethinking their strategy because, even if you make money, if you risk blowing up just to make money, it doesn't matter if you're right. The end goal is to have a less stressful play, a less stressful strategy that you can use day in, day out forever, no matter where you are. If you're trading from Asia, like me, or if you're, like Brooks and you're looking at houses and you're trading mobile. What I want you to do is really personalize my teachings, personalize these patterns and figure out what works best for you. I know some of you guys love this dip buy, and frankly, I think that's probably the best pattern right now, looking to dip buy morning panics if they hold support. If this couldn't hold support at 90 cents, I wouldn't necessarily dip buy it, okay? But then again, it did have some support at 80 cents too, but huge volume and good volatility on PIP. PRCP, much less volatility, less volume, but you can see the breakout is clear And they also had an earnings conference call in the middle of the day. So if they are going to get analyst upgrades or media, it's probably going to come out the next day. So that's why I have a small overnight position in PRCP. But this probably is actually going to be better for the long term, like PXLW, when you have these multi-month breakouts. So I want you seeing, multiple angles. And there's a very specific reason why I'm not bringing up, RGSE or MYOS or, DRYS, because these chat rooms that pump these stocks up, they just try to look like experts, okay? And a lot of you guys are confused. You're like, how do I play this? I don't know how to play a lot of these low float chat pumps, because you never know when the chat is just going to pump it up again and they just lie about their reasoning. Again, you have to think, if I run a chat room, am I really an expert or am I pretending to be an expert? And the difference is, me versus a lot of these guys, they don't show all their trades transparently. And those who do, they've only been trading a few years. They don't have millions of dollars themselves. They don't have any millionaire students. And most importantly, they're trading low float stocks. They're specifically getting in and getting out of these low float stocks within seconds. Within seconds. That's not a real sustainable strategy. I want you guys learning how to profit from patterns that last for hours or days or weeks. Even if you're really right, in a few seconds or a few minutes, you have the opportunity to take advantage of that and, exit at any time. But have a little more, I don't know what the word is, be a little more meticulous, okay? Have a little more vision and say, wow, this is, like a multi-month breakout. This is actually meaningful. So you're not just buying some random bullshit low float play and pumping it up to, millions of followers. There's a reason why when I trade low float stocks, I'm doing more live video lessons, because they move so fast. I don't want you following my trades. I don't want you following the trades of anybody. And I'm going to be doing more and more live trades, especially on low float stocks. And I think it's disgusting what a lot of these websites are doing with these low float stocks. And it's not going to last. And it's going to be a very ugly ending if you ignore my advice, if you ignore what I'm trying to teach you, because I want more millionaire students. And that will not happen if you just follow whatever play is hot. That's sadly what most penny stock traders do. They're like, what's hot? What am I playing? Okay, let me try this one. Oh, it didn't work. Next. And they're just gambling. And there's no real strategy. There's no real planning behind it. And they just want action and they want the quick gains. And I understand that. That feels great. But what feels much greater is long-term success over years and decades. And this is what my top millionaire students and I have learned. And this is why I'm so proud of this. So if you want to trade these low float pumps, that's fine. Just have the right perspective. Understand that the people who are pumping these up will get out very quickly, because they are not true traders. They are not true experts. As opposed to plays like PXLW or PRCP, where, frankly, I don't have any big gains. And it's like, oh, Sykes, you're such a bad trader. Oh, some plays take longer to develop. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad trades. That doesn't mean that I'm a bad trader. They're just different. And frankly, I like the ones that take longer because you can learn more about them. These other ones, you have to be in and out in seconds, okay? And it's all playing like follow the leader. And what happens when the leader is gone? What happens if the leader is wrong? Because the leader is a bullshit artist to start with. That is not something that you need to learn. That is not something that will make you successful for years and decades. I'm trying to teach you patterns that might be slower, but you can do them from anywhere in the world. A multi-month earnings winner, a multi-month breakout with huge volume is something that is sustainable for weeks. Today is February 7th, or I don't even know what day it is for you guys in America. I think it's February 7th. For me here, let me check my phone. It's February 8th for me, but while I'm filming this, it's February 7th. I'd be really curious to see where PRCP is on March 7th, 1 month from now. And I'd venture, I don't know what the overall market is going to do, but I'd venture to guess that this little, multi-month breakout is the beginning of something more important. Now, obviously, it has, a long way to go from its highs, and this could go down. And frankly, I've been waiting for a drop in the overall market for a very long time. But at the same time, this is a play that I think has much more potential than some of these bullshit low flow plays that spike for a day or two and then come crashing down. This is a safer play. And that's how I teach. I like to trade safer, especially given my environment right now, and I like to teach safety. There's enough volatility in this niche for everybody. You don't need to trade the craziest stocks and be confused. I want you to understand what's really working so that your confusion levels drop and your comfort levels go up. But again, every one of us is different, and it all comes down to process and refining your process. So leave a comment with the word refining if you understand what I'm saying. I'm going to go do my watch list. I got to post this video too. Busy day, guys. Thank you.